Applying for Medicare Part B at age 65 is a strong insurance policy because insurers are prohibited by law from asking you questions about coverage during your initial window. Whether you just run a marathon or just come home from the hospital, they'll accept you as long as you follow the rules. That protection has a shelf life of 6 months, which is at the root of the problem. Once 6 months have passed, the same insurance company that can't suddenly ask you any questions can reject you, raise your premium, or attach a pre-existing waiting period, which means your existing situation may not be covered for a few months after registration. Things are getting worse. According to CMS, most Medigap programs sold in the United States are priced, so they become more expensive simply because you are 1 year old and your health has nothing to do with it. By age 78, premiums typically rise 45 to 50% from their original price at age 65, all before inflation. Trying to avoid premium increases by switching carriers is where the trap suddenly closes, because new insurers can ask every health question in the book, what happened to you along the way, and to most of us, could turn a simple transformation into denial. A large number of retirees end up stuck in a plan for rising prices without a realistic exit. This video breaks through these two traps and gives you real dollar examples, covering states that protect retirees better than federal law requires. Finally, you know exactly when the door opens and closes, and how to make the right decision the first time. Let's get started. Medigap Open Registration Window Instructions. The first trap is Medigap's open admissions period, which is how the mechanism works. On the day Part B insurance begins, a 6-month window opens that allows you to sign up for any zero coverage Medigap plan. And federal law forbids insurers to refuse you, charge more for your health, or let you wait in advance. This protection is known as a guaranteed issuance. Right? Now, that is what most people miss. Delaying Part B is because you stick to a solid employer plan, which means the 6-month clock start at 65, or any particular birthday the clock starts on the day Part B really starts, whether 66, 68, or 71. And it follows Part B, not your age. You only need one chance, which is why it is so different from Medicare or Part D, which gives you one chance a year at the start of the fall semester. By the way, the fall window has nothing to do with Medigap rights. And I often hear this confusion. Once those 6 months have passed, you'll be beholden to the insurance company, unless you happen to live in one of the few protected states. Carriers check your prescription records and repeatedly ask about your health, either reject you outright, grade you, or push you to more expensive levels. Most tragically, most retirees who miss this window miss it simply because no one tells them it exists or knows where it is. A decision that is almost obvious. Tricky pricing traps that most retirees miss. Now look at the second trap, which is trickier because it is hidden inside the price tag itself. The Medigap policy uses 3 pricing methods, and the gap between them could mean tens of thousands of dollars during retirement. The first is age, and with age prices rise. The second is the age of issuance. That is, your price is consistent with the age at the time of purchase. The third is community ratings, which means that everyone participating in the program pays the same premium regardless of age. They sound similar, but they don't. And that distinction is the whole reason we have this conversation. According to CMS, most of the Medigap policies sold in the country are priced at the age of arrival, which means premiums rise annually on your anniversary, usually in the lower single digits plus inflation, because adult policies are cheap at first. When shoppers compare only by price, they almost always look like the best deal at age 65, which is the trap. Why would a cheap Medigap plan cost more in the future? Take a real example. If someone buys insurance for plan G at age 65 for about $135 a month, it is not hard to see that by age 80, premiums will exceed $290, somewhere between planned age growth and inflation superimposed on top. Trying to evade coverage by changing carriers means that any health problems over the past 15 years have either led to denials or pushed new prices even higher than they have paid. This is a financial mousetrap, and the bait is such a low entry price. Help, Medicare can be overwhelming. Ask people over 65, and they'll tell you that they spent hours on it, made a phone call that felt right, and found it cost hundreds of dollars a year. The channel has 3 branches, one of which is our trusted Medicare Partner chapter, the only national advisor to review carrier programs. Their service costs are simply direct, saving our customers an average of $1,100 a year. The process takes about 20 minutes. And if you want to see if they can help, call 4473-11224. States that offer better Medigap protection. Now consider one of the most underestimated factors in your Medicare results: location. Federal law sets a floor, and some states have sharply raised it. When it comes to pricing, Connecticut, New York, Massachusetts, Vermont, Maine, and Washington effectively prohibit adult pricing. And insurers in those states must use community rating pricing so that your premiums are not penalized for 80 instead of 65. Florida, Georgia, Arizona, and Missouri tend to issue age pricing, in which interest rates are fixed at the age of purchase, and only general inflation changes that number. Birthday rules and rights guarantees returning to the admissions trap. Several states offer retirees a second chance that federal law does not, according to KFF data. In fact, Connecticut, New York, and Massachusetts allow you to switch Medigap carriers at any time of year without covering them, no matter how long you stay on Medicare. There is also the birthday rule, which California, Oregon, Idaho, Illinois, Nevada, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and a growing number of other states have adopted. Every year, before and after your birthday, a window opens to switch to an uninsured equivalent or lower plan, with some states giving you 30 days and others extending it to 60 days or more. State windows serve as escape hatches. If your state doesn't tee, the first 6 months are the most important opportunity in your Medicare life, because the decisions you make in those 6 months may follow you for the next 25 or 30 years. Actual Medigap cost differences over time. Let me illustrate this with real numbers. Medigap registrants pay an average of about $2,400 to $2,700 a year in premiums, and about $200 to $225 a month for all programs and ages, according to KFF average mask track. Two people with the same health status, the same zip code, the same standardized plan G, and the same benefits that must be provided by law have monthly premiums that vary by $60, $70, or more, depending on the carrier they choose. With the same coverage, the same medical access, there is no network to worry about on Medigap, but the card has a different logo. If you widen the gap to 20 years, Policy Guide said you will see a net overpayment of $15,000 to $20,000, excluding adult age growth, which in inflation terms may increase by 20 to 40% over time. How Medigap underwriting really works. If you've never been covered by Medigap, here is how it actually works. You will receive a health questionnaire with yes/no page entries, including whether you have cancer, dialysis, heart surgery, or stroke, and what medications you are currently taking. Some problems go back 24 months, and some go back forever. What has changed in recent years is the role of prescription drug history, where insurers now electronically retrieve your medication records, a list that has become the main basis for approvals, denials, and price increases. Many applicants were rejected before anyone looked at the chart, based entirely on their pharmacy records. Even if insurers approve you outside the protected 6-month window, they can add a 6-month conditional waiting period if you are pre-insured with so-called credit insurance. This usually means that employer or union insurance comes from a company with 20 or more employees, either your own or your spouse's. Federal law does set aside a small number of rights to issue guarantees, while the larger rights cover losses from employer or union insurance, which supplements Medicare and gives you 63 days to act. Insurance company, bankruptcies, or fraud allow you to switch. Try Medicare Advantages as your first choice at age 65. Give you a 12-month probation and use Medigap to return to Medicare. These rights are important, but narrow, and no one knows what Congress or insurers will do in the future. So the only real protection you can count on is getting smart on the first day. How to protect yourself from these traps? Here is a practical roadmap. First, determine the exact start date for Part B insurance, because that date opens your 6-month Medigap window, and you'll want to mark both the start and end dates on your calendar. Rather than trust your memory, then, even before the window opens, it pulls quotes from multiple carriers for the most popular and well-reasoned Plan G selection. Coverage is federally standardized, meaning the only real variables are prices and the company's record of raising interest rates. Third, ask each carrier if their plans use age of attainment, publication age, or community rating. Because if you live where age of attainment pricing is still allowed, that question outweighs almost all other factors in your long-term costs. Fourth, check your state's specific rules. Because birthday rules, anniversary rules, and community rating requirements change over time and are not apparent from the outside. Licensed Medicare consultants are the quickest way to fix the problem. Finally, if you've been through the window for 6 months, don't think the door is closed, because there are often more choices than people realize. And knowing what is possible, even if you don't end up using them, will put you in a better position. If you like this video, look at that one. And the first Social Security valuations in 2027 are worth a look.